Want to get this briefing by email? Here's the sign up. Good evening. Here's the latest. Jonathan Ernst, Reuters. 1. Senate Republicans are scrambling to figure out how to block Roy Moore's path to the Senate, after accusations emerged that he made UAL advances on teenage girls when he was in his 30s. Mr. Moore, above, is the Republican nominee for the Alabama Senate seat vacated by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. A special election is scheduled for December 12. He remained defiant, insisting in an interview on Fox News that he would stay in the race and denying that he had any contact with a woman who says he molested her when she was 14. Worried Republicans are debating fielding a write-in candidate or trying to delay the election. In an interview, Senator Mitch McConnell would not say whether he would seat Mr. Moore if he wins, while Hamza European press photo agency 2. In political intrigue elsewhere, the mystery surrounding the resignation of Lebanon's prime minister is fueling anxiety about whether the region is on the verge of a new conflict. After a sudden flight to Riyadh a week ago, Saad Hariri announced he was stepping down because of Iranian meddling in Lebanon through Hezbollah. He remains there, and the Saudis say there was a plot to assassinate him. The head of Hezbollah countered that Saudi Arabia had essentially kidnapped Mr. Hariri, and asked Israel to attack Lebanon. Above, a poster in Beirut that reads, "We are all Saad." Doug Mills, The New York Times. 3. President Trump pitched an America First trade policy to business leaders at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in Da Nang, Vietnam. The remarks were strikingly hostile for the pro-trade ons, and contrasted sharply with a speech by President Xi Jinping of China that championed more robust engagement with the world. In between events, President Trump met with American veterans of the Vietnam War, above, and signed a proclamation commemorating the conflict's 50th anniversary. He was exempted from military service during the war because of a bone spur diagnosis. Hiroka Masuoka, The New York Times. 4. We published the video of our interview with Stephen Bannon, the Breitbart News chief and former strategist for President Trump, at our New York headquarters this week. Watch it here. Mr. Bannon said that Senator Mitch McConnell has to go, and lashed out at the media's coverage of the president. Here are the key takeaways. Jeremy Peters, the reporter who conducted the interview, will discuss it on another episode of our new podcast, The New Washington, out tomorrow. Click here to subscribe and hear past episodes. Gevork Jansson, Reuters. 5. These stories are true. The comedian Louis C.K. admitted that he had engaged in UAL misconduct with 5 women, as we reported yesterday. He expressed remorse, but did not apologize. Here's his statement. The release of his forthcoming comedy, I Love You, Daddy, was cancelled by the distributor, and Netflix cancelled a special with him. Hillary Swift for The New York Times. 6. Gov. Kenneth E. Map of the U.S. Virgin Islands plans to go to Washington next week to request $7 billion in aid. More than 2 months after Hurricanes Irma and Maria struck, many residents there are still grappling with daily survival. We checked in with people we interviewed in the intermediate aftermath of the storms. It feels like we're actually making a bit of progress, said Kimiko Mahoney, seated above. But it's still such a long way to go. Mark Abramson for The New York Times. 7. Dozens of young immigrants mailed in their DACA renewal forms weeks before they were due. But their paperwork was delayed in the mail, and then denied for being late. Though the Postal Service took responsibility, immigration authorities were unsympathetic. USCIS is not responsible for the mail service an individual chooses, or for delays on the part of mail service providers, an official said. RFL agents France Presse, Getty Images. 8. The terrible air quality in Delhi has been making headlines. Now Lahore, Pakistan's second-largest city, is giving the Indian capital a run for its money. For nearly 2 weeks, the Lahore has been like one huge airport smoker's lounge. The air quality is usually bad in November, from crop burning, cold weather and higher emissions. This year it reached a crisis point, and critics say the government isn't doing enough to address it. The Lahore looks like a dystopian wasteland right now, kind of like a scene from Blade Runner, one local business owner said. Tony Senecola, The New York Times. 9. Among the panic-inducing headlines we published this week, this one stood out. Cancer doctors cite risks of drinking alcohol. The American Society of Clinical Oncology had warned that even modest drinking could increase the risk of cancer. Nearly 500 readers commented on the story. "I'm waiting for the headline that reads, 'Living longer causes cancer,'" one wrote. Because that statement would also, technically, be true. Our colleagues at The Upshot argue it should be taken with a grain of salt, perhaps on the rim of a margarita glass. Blank, NBC 10. Finally, Louis C.K. was supposed to be on The Late Show on Thursday, after the New York premiere of his new, "I Love You, Daddy." But both events were cancelled after we reported on his UAL misconduct. Stephen Colbert only briefly discussed the cancellation. Seth Meyers may have captured the reaction among comics best, starting his bit with a mention of the accusations against Roy Moore. "Politics is so of perverts and deviants. I'm just so glad I work in comedy," he said. Damn it, have a great weekend. Blank, your evening briefing is posted at 6 p.m. Eastern. And don't miss your morning briefing, posted weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, and your weekend briefing, posted at 6 a.m. Sundays. Want to catch up on past briefings? You can browse them here. If photographs appear out of order, please download the updated New York Times app from iTunes or Google Play. What did you like? What do you want to see here? Let us know at briefing@nytimes.com.